Hi everybody. I'm going to speak very softly. Is this good enough? Or is this, okay, I just wanted to test because I'm a soft-spoken person. So I have a very complicated name. It's pronounced more like Walei or Wally or... Yeah, sorry. I didn't want to call you out, but yeah. Yeah, it's spelled W-A-L-E-I, just in case. And actually, I wanted to say one funny thing before I start my presentation, and that is Svetlana had mentioned the fact that she gets Braille in sometimes in restaurants or whatever, and I, as well as other blind people, have been offered assisted listening devices in movie theaters. Yes, or audio description devices, and people have actually asked me if I read American Sign Language. But I'm Walei Sabry, and I work for the mayor's office for people with disabilities, and I'm the housing coordinator, which is not very related here. But part of what we do at the office is wear many hats, and one day, my main duties is to answer 311 calls regarding housing and share housing opportunities with our constituents. But on a different day, I might be going to the Human Resources Administration and teaching their employees about screen readers. Or I could be working with the Department of Construction and Design and Cooper Union students on developing tactile pathways in streets. Or working with recent vendors with the city who are replacing phone booths with Wi-Fi hotspots and tablets on making sure that they're gonna implement accessibility. Or doing our social media. You might have noticed me sitting and tweeting about this on my phone. So we just end up doing a lot of things, and one of those things that is working with other city agencies and making their services services as well as websites and documents and their awareness level, I guess, more accommodating to people with disabilities. So I do get to help work with other city agencies on making their websites and electronic documents more accessible. So that's what my presentation is about. So it's all about really navigating the system, and we can have one. All right, so we are working. Sorry. So there are there are a lot of different city agencies, and some of them are bigger than others. For instance, HRA, the Human Resources Administration, has 14,000 employees. And so working with disability awareness is going to be a bit of a tougher task, right? Because how do you reach so many people? So it's sort of you gotta do the best that you can with what you've got. And New York City is not the most accessible city in the world, but neither is any other city. And we're just kind of working a little bit at a time and chipping away at accessibility. And or inaccessibility, and trying to make it happen. So sorry, I need like 2 hands here. Right. So it's actually, a little bit more effective, like it says on my slide, to advocate for bigger changes instead of, focusing on one thing that doesn't work, maybe focusing on making the template of that website more accessible, as opposed to fixing a specific part of it that wasn't working or a specific page of it, as well as and also addressing your issues with the right city agencies. So if you have an MTA complaint, which many of us do, the Department of Transportation is actually not the right place to go to. The Department of Transportation is more about the streets and curbs and things like that. And MTA is actually, I believe, a state agency. So, you know, it's just about finding every agency has its own, you know, complaints process, and it might not seem like you're making a difference by submitting complaints, but somebody out there is reading it or listening to it, and it does make a difference. And if you feel like it's not making a difference, there are other entities you can reach out to, if it's sort of going past a certain level of unfairness or just inappropriateness, I guess. So. And another thing that to be aware of is advocating for those big changes. There's something called a request for proposals, and that is how a lot of city agencies acquire a lot of their products and services. So, for instance, a city agency might put out a request for proposals to replace all the phone booths with Wi-Fi hotspots and Android tablets, and so it's basically what needs to be done is to make sure that our interests are included in those RFPs, and part of what we do here in the city in the office is try to advocate for accessibility within the RFPs. When I first started working for the mayor's office, which was not too long ago, it was in February, I had to take an online training, and it was less than accessible. It was a diversity training, it was called Everybody Matters, inclusion and diversity training. But I reached out to the Department of DCAS, the Department of Citywide Administrative Services, who have, are in charge of those sort of trainings and administrative, citywide administrative things like that. And they were very happy to work with me. And the person connected me with somebody that works in the IT department, and they came and they got my experience. They saw me trying to use it was like online, so it was like a website, and they saw the struggle, not the struggles, but the barriers that were there, and they saw that in real time, just like we were discussing earlier, which, it made it very clear to them. And unfortunately, their current system was very Flash-based, and, there wasn't really a lot that they could do to make it more accessible. But what they did sort of promise me, and I'll keep following up with them to make sure that they do that, is when they do move on to a new sort of online training system, that they'll probably have to put out an RFP, and they will include accessibility in that. So that's just a little story of how these things work and how they can get better. So a lot of people have sort of a view of the city employees that they're just these terrible people and they hate their jobs and stuff like that. And, they're very negative people. And so I do, sort of have to choose the right approach when I'm trying to reach out to a city agency. And a lot of the time I have to sort of spin it in a positive way, and also spin it in the way of, I'm doing you a favor, so let me help you make your website more accessible so you can reach more of our constituents and not get sued also potentially. So, and they love experts, subject matter experts, and often, this isn't like an absolute. Oftentimes, a person with a disability is more of a subject matter expert than the employee without a disability who's in charge of the website. So just, try to frame it in a way where you're actually helping out and you're using your knowledge and your skills to help them improve their website and reach more people. All right, so some of the things that I have worked on, us as a office we've worked on, but it's mostly me that has sort of been the head of that initiatives, or these initiatives, is I worked on our website, the Mayor's Office for People with Disabilities website, and I have worked also on our ADA 25 website. We have a website for all the ADA celebrations that happened this past summer for the 25th anniversary of the ADA. And it's still a work in progress, but when I was viewing when I was going through the websites, initially they didn't have any headings at all. There was no headings. The information was there, the text was there, was accessible in that way, but there's no headings, and so we started putting them up, and I had to literally go page by page and put a link to each of those pages, and also specifically tell them where we wanted these headings and which heading levels, and they started implementing that, and so we have a lot more headings on our website on MOPD, Mayor's Office for People with Disabilities, and we also have the headings for ADA 25. So that just facilitated a little bit of faster navigation, and it's just a little fix that made a little bit of a difference. Also, we did have image descriptions on our website, but I just kind of went through them because on our main page, the logo was labeled Mayor's Office for People with Disabilities. So, I put an end to that, so that was good. So we're practicing that too, image descriptions and on our website, so to facilitate more access. And that's what I've done so far with our website in the ADA 25 website. Also in our social media, I've been sort of promoting image descriptions more, and on Twitter, I haven't really found a good strategy to do that with the 140 characters. But on Facebook, I kind of worked with our interns and had them add image descriptions to a lot of the photos that we posted from this summer and all the celebrations. So, just working a little bit at a time and working with the people and the resources that I have to just facilitate a little bit more access, as much as possible. Because, like I said, I do have to do a million things, like organize workshops and panels, and so I can't really focus on web accessibility full time, which I would love to, but. All right, so some of the other work that I have done is on the Access NYC, which is it's a sort of a portal it's created by HRA, and somebody had actually previously tested it before me, and they had done a pretty good job, and I just went over it again because they wanted me to, and I found some things that weren't working with my particular screen reader and setup. Mainly, there was like a keyboard focus issue with some of their drop-down menus, and there was also this one page with a bunch of checkboxes. But these checkboxes were associated with the title of the page. So every time you would go to each of these checkboxes, you would actually have to hear an entire sentence first before you would hear the actual text next to the checkbox. So it was very confusing and annoying. And as I was tested, this particular website or page was not, it was outsourced. It was actually from Ireland. So they connected me with the engineers, and I was going through the website with them and gave them as much feedback as I could. And that is something that they're working on. I haven't really followed up on that yet because it was pretty recent. And but I will, and so that's one thing that I have been working on, and I've worked with the Department of Transportation a lot, and over the summer, because they have their own disability-related events. They have their expo, Access to Independence Expo, which showcases a lot of the transportation options in New York and the accessible transportation options. And they had a pretty big guide that they created for that. It was probably, I don't know, maybe 10 to 20 pages or something like that. And it had, it was a PDF, so I worked with them on creating headings and making sure the links work. And I actually found some, I call them ghost headings. And they're different from fake headings, because a fake heading is just, when you make the text bigger and bold. A ghost heading is actually nothing. It's you empty space, but the screen reader recognizes it as a heading, so it'll just randomly say heading level 3. That's it. And it won't, there's no text there. So I that's one of the things that I found in that document, and I just quickly went through it, and I found about 60 of them, so we got rid of those. So, it's just another thing, another enhancement that really makes reading a document a lot better and a lot easier and a lot smoother. And once again, I did work with HRA, and I still am on their website, because they have a pretty big website. They have a lot of services, and they're actually relaunching their website soon, or already have. But they've come up with an accessibility testimony or commitment. I'm not sure if that's something that they were posting on their website or if it's for their employees, but I worked with the ADA coordinator over there, and she's not very technologically savvy, neither am I, but I'm more of a user of this technology, and we worked together on crafting this statement for HRA, which will address their documents, most of all, primarily, as well as their website. So that's a way of facilitating kind of a bigger change, right, throughout their organization, because they are 14,000 employees large. So, and I have been working on my own guides as well, for accessibility. So they're not the most complex or the greatest guides, but for city employees who have no idea what accessibility is, it helps, and I'm creating two of them right now, which is one is for website accessibility and one is for documents, electronic documents accessibility. And whenever I can, I share them with any folks that I interact with, especially, because I end up getting documents from these people, and sometimes they're not accessible, so that's a great segue for me to be like, hey, let me share this with you so that you can send me stuff I can actually read. So, next slide. So some of the stuff that I am still working on, because it's just I haven't really had the time to, or it's just I haven't really found the solution to yet. On our main page for the Mayor's Office for People with Disabilities, they have this slideshow thing. So we input a few stories that we want to keep sort of flashing And so it would just kind of change, it keeps changing. And it doesn't really behave very well with screen readers, and you know, they're really proud of it. So I'm not really sure what the best solution for that is. But that's still there, and what our website and pretty much a lot of city websites are on the nyc.gov page or domain. And so what I've also been trying to work on is kind of working with the Department of Information Technology and Telecommunication, do it, and they well, basically just working on having them change the nyc.gov template so that a lot of these accessibility fixes are implemented, you know, on a larger scale, and it would affect more websites, because they manage a lot of the city websites themselves. And they update, they change them or renew them one at a time. So if they do create this template that I'm trying to help them create, then they can use that whenever they're recreating or renewing a website, so that the accessibility is sort of ongoing. All right, so moving forward, some of the things that I do plan to work on are working on a accessibility commitment for our website. I'd like to put something out there, regarding website accessibility and document accessibility. It's always good to have that information ready and available for other city agencies or for the constituents or just for whoever that's visiting. And the guides that I'm working on, I do want to finalize them and have something a bit more useful and substantial that could be applied, not just to city agencies, but to anywhere, really. And one thing I'm kind of going to be happy to tackle is audio description. We recently hired a new communications person who's a filmmaker, and he's going to be making a lot of films for us. He actually created his first film for us already, and it's on our YouTube channel. And it's a recap of the ADA events from this summer. And it's a great video, I like it myself. And we are going to work on making them more accessible by adding audio descriptions. We have not had the time to do that just yet. But it's something that hasn't really been done by the office before. And that's why I'm there, right? That's why they hired me, is because I'm bringing in this knowledge and how to do it. It's not the hardest thing to do in the world. It's so part of my goals for the future is to make sure that all our videos are going to be audio described, or there's an audio described version of all the videos that we have. Just like moving forward, I'd like to have all the pictures and images that we put up on our social media and our websites to be described as well. And maybe even start an Instagram account and have photos on that and describe them as well, photos and videos. And that's not just for us, but it's also to just promote that good practice of doing that. So, and I believe we do already use closed captioning in our videos, but that's something that we're going to continue to do and probably improve on. Maybe explore closed captions as opposed to open captions, or open captions as opposed to closed captions, and seeing what the best solution is for that. So yeah, as I said, I've been also just working with HRA. They have a new website. I'm going to be taking it page by page and just giving them feedback a little bit at a time because it's going to be a pretty big website. And last thing I will be working on is there's a little group called Team Digi, which is a group of just different people from city agencies brought together by the digital media strategists of the city, and we just discuss different strategies for social media and how to reach people, how to engage people in our audiences, different campaigns, and they recently asked us to make a training for them on how to make your media accessible. So we're going to work on audio description, image descriptions, captioning, and we're going to share that with them so that when they post their, on social media, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube, or make videos, that they have that knowledge there. And slowly, we're just kind of chipping away and making things more accessible, giving city employees the tools to become more accessible. And that's it. Yes. Yeah, so that's it.
You said in the very beginning of the talk that New York is not a very accessible city, and this is something that I think about and wonder about a lot. Do you have any sort of, if you had like one dream or vision that could be accomplished for the city of New York? I know this is a kind of a big question, but what would that be? Like, not thinking of any restrictions.
This is a very personal opinion of mine, but I did work, I told you guys a little bit about this project that I worked on with the Department of Design and Construction, and I really feel like it would be a lot easier for me to get around New York if we had more tactile paths or something, some kind of tactile markers on the ground and then sidewalks to mark things like where the entrances are, where significant things are. So I just, one, it would be nice to walk straight, and two, it would be nice to find things easier, and feel more confident traveling. So to me, that's one change that I would love to see happen on a citywide level.
So you'd rather have something that's tactile and physical than something that's like digital, like on your phone, or kind of.
Well, that's good too, and the I believe the phone booths when they will be replaced with Wi-Fi hotspots and tablets will have beacons as well, Bluetooth beacons. So we're going to try to make sure that something happens with that as well.
Dylan, you had a question, then Jensen, and then over here, and then I think we'll wrap up.
I'm good.
Oh, you're good. You're good, Jensen.
So, Walei, you mentioned that all this stuff that you've listed here that you've been doing and you will be doing is kind of, if I understood it correctly, is this kind of like secondary to your first job of answering the calls on the 311?
Yes.
So I guess the next logical question is there a movement within the mayor's office to actually create a role for someone to come in and lead the digital accessibility efforts? Because it sounds like there's a lot that can be done and there's a lot of opportunity that could be gained if you or someone were to be doing this 100% of their time instead of pieces.
Yeah, I mean, our problem is in the office is very much the problem of many city agencies, which is, we just have a lot of things to do and we're spread out very thin. We are getting more employees, but to get the funding for these things, you have to be very specific, the titles and the positions and stuff like that. So as of right now, I'm still gonna be me. But I mean, I will also always try to advocate for that, in the future as I have a bigger role in the office and whenever I see it being a possibility, I will always try to, like I said, advocate for that.
Yeah. Last question over here, and then we'll wrap up.
When you were talking about what you would like to have done in New York City, tactile changes or whatever, is there a city or town that you can point to that said, you could say, this city, this town did it right. We should do something like this.
So, first of all, can I not be quoted as saying New York City? I might get in trouble for that. But, I think that, as far as I know, no city that I've been to has done it completely right. I've just seen or observed different things. Like each city just has one or two things that they do very well. I feel like New York City does transportation for at least blind people pretty well. And getting around New York, because it's a grid system and there's numbers, with the exception of this area, it's relatively easy. And I mean, in other cities, I've seen that they have more audible pedestrian signals, for instance. Maybe better curb cuts. I've heard that DC has a better train system in terms of wheelchair access.
Yes.
I haven't tested it out myself. So, I mean, when I did say that statement, I also followed it up with no city is, super accessible, in my opinion. So, I think that there's a lot of work that needs to be done for all of the world to get there.
Great. Thanks very much, Walei.